Press and enter and done. All the social media set up and software testing is complete. Electronic payment system's ready. It's all working, Julian. Where to go, buddy?
Fucking way, Buzz. You know what? You are the fucking man, buddy.
Oh, I know I'm the fucking man. I honestly don't think there's a snowball's chance of fucking hell this business is gonna work, but I did my best. Here we go.
Electricians, dishwashers, floor cleaners, lawyers, doctors, fucking politicians, CBC employees, principals, people that paint the lawns in the fucking roads. Get stoned, it'll be fun, get to work.
Thanks, Flame, for the fucking notifications. What the fuck, dude? The least aesthetic thing for me to start up with. Hello, my children. Once again, welcome to to the gathering gloom. Find ourselves right in the midst of it, and I want you to all drink with me. Milwaukee's finest. Goddamn right. It's good to be with you yet again. Who be out there? Who be out there? Give me a whoop whoop. Let me know you're alive. Let me know you're living. We got avocado adorable out there from India, bro. Where is Agoro? Rest of parts. My friends out in India. I'm gonna need you to send some rupees my way. It turns out I've done like fucking altogether more than 24 hours of work, and I want money. Otherwise, you just gotta wait till I feel like doing it. In lieu of that, you have to sit there and listen to me tell you what to do right from my own ass. Right from my own brain hole. Not from a book. Not from some spirit. I'm just making this shit up as I go. And that's what I've got for you. Now, there is a link right below me, streamlabs.com/gather-or-scatter-live/tip. Send me $20 and I will get right on that, brother. Send me $20. Not too much to ask, right? $20 for an hour of work. That's the going rate these days, is it not? I've worked at Walmart. I know how this is.
Huh.
Right? That's the from a fucking slave monkey labor. That's the amount. Am I right? How's everyone doing out there? How's God been treating you? Good? I hope so. If it's been bad, you deserve it. I deserve it.
Shit, dude. I'll say things are looking up. I'm getting back to trying to earn that dollar.
Earn them cents, dude. Earn that 50 cents. Unity O Star in the chat. Speaking German. Good. It says like good evening or some shit. I don't know anything about that. Speak to me in Polish. When you're drunk enough to just punch your keyboard and it makes sense to me, then we're on the same level. Avocado Adorable says Vimalananda could have been billionaire, but he chose to only get enough money for food. Well, guess what, dude? Dude, Vimalananda had plenty of money, it turns out. He had a racehorse.
No,
I'm literally eating fucking American cheese on white bread with mustard to get by. You don't understand. I am broke and my life is spiraling. Please help. Whatever, dude. We all got problems. Turns out my problems are worse than your problem of not getting the last Agora chapter. I don't know. I don't know.
Dude, you just haven't done it yet?
No. Why the hell am I going to do more work? Nobody pays me. I hate to come on here and sound like an asshole, but for real, how many hours of effort have I put into these things to get what in return? Almost nothing. Come on, it's true. It's true.
Shit, dude.
Avocado Adorable says, shift to India. Find a guru like Vimalananda. That's what I would like to do. Let me just go to India because I'm telling you, if I was born in India and my parents were like, all right, this kid is like totally non-functional in real life, but all he does is read the scriptures, they would have been like, go meditate by that river. And I would have been like, yeah, that's the bit that I want to follow. I didn't get that opportunity. Did not.
No, man. The West doesn't have no use for people like us. We had to like try to mold ourselves into a gear so we could fit inside the car, inside the machine.
Or I can be like the stick that's like jammed in the spokes of the bike, and then the rider busts his ass. I'm seeing today is Hanuman Jayanti. Do you know Hanuman Anjanaya? Not as well as I could. Most of my understanding and my actual study of Hinduism comes from the Bhagavad Gita, from like Hare Krishna's sources, Prabhupada. It was the most accessible thing for me. So that was the first thing I got into, and that's what I know the best. I know like Hanuman is like a part of like the greater Mahabharata, if I'm not mistaken. And it all seems very interesting to me. It's the monkey-headed form of God. I know that. How much hash did they smoke in his honor this day? That's what I really want to know. I'll keep up with you. I'll go toke for toke with you. the birthday of Hanuman. Today is the birthday of Hanuman. A very auspicious day, I would assume. Yeah, send me more content. No hash. He is purity god. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. No hash. He says, here is introductory movie. I don't know what that means. Feel free to send me anything. My email is in the description. Send me whatever you got, because I'm very interested. All right. So what do we got to get on with today? What do we got as far as news? Trump is indicted. He went to face his indictment. People are literally spazzing out, thinking he's in prison right now. Not how this is working. It's all misdemeanors. None of it fucking matters. It's all a charade. Flame?
Nobody has. I heard something that he was trying to get people to protest on his behalf. But we all know what happened last time that happened.
Wow, it was a brilliant idea. It'll be a brilliant idea again. I don't know. If anyone who's dumb enough to go out there with signs and shit at this point, please feel free to get like bulldozed, whatever they're doing, blast you with the sound cannon, freeze your bank account, sound your urethra. I'm not sure what they're doing to y'all these days, but y'all are asking for it. It's dumb as hell. There's no political solution. You can take that as you will. Most importantly, get to know God. God will tell you how to overcome this crap. God made it happen. God hardened their hearts. God will make them seethe.
Hardened our hearts. They turned their faces from him, dude.
Hardened my virile cock to fuck them in their asses.
Everybody's on that, like, root chakra right now. Everybody just wants to get their dollar. That's the thing right now. We hear about this, like, everything bubble. That everything's going to go to shit soon.
It's already going to shit. Welcome to Shitsville. Population. Us. Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. And I was talking to a homie recently. We're having a discussion about, like, the meaning of life or whatever. And it wasn't so much what is the meaning of life, more is there a meaning to life. And to me, I was talking about how, like, all of nature seems to reflect some sort of progression. Now, I don't know where that progression goes to, but the point is, I feel like I know where the progression comes from. Everything starts as one singular point, grows outward, decentralizes into many points, and continues from there. That's what nature does. That's what ideas do. I think that's what reincarnation is. I think all of this evidences that there is some sort of plan, some sort of reason. Now, he was saying that he had a more pessimistic view, and I don't know what could be more pessimistic than that. More pessimistic than us building our own prisons every day.
Or, like, if you want to be pessimistic to that whole reincarnation thing, there's those people that believe in the soul trap. So, like, we're stuck in we're against our will. There's other forces, like, keeping us from God.
Woo! Sped placed $10 in the collection plate. Thank you very much. Here you go, dog. God bless. Now that I appreciate. We love to see it happening. Love to see it crack-a-lack in here. God damn. Thank you. That means so much to me. And, like, that's like a $10 bill that I'm going to, like, staple to my wall. That one means a lot right there. Oh, man. What the hell are we talking about? But, yeah, he was saying pessimistic. Now, you're talking about a soul trap. And that was kind of maybe his point. He was saying that we live these lives over and over again, these same lives, dealing with these same problems. And that's the bit. Yeah. That's all there is. Now, for me, it's like, first of all, that's not how nature works. It's never how nature works. Nature is progress until it's not, until it hits a brick wall and then ceases to be. That happens sometimes too. But it's always moving towards something. Now, what I think is pretty similar to that, in that we are reincarnated with, like, the same souls, the same barriers, the same material attachments, the same hang-ups, the same bullshit over and over, and we gradually overcome it. Now, the scary part of all of that is, I think, when you're someone like us, just a normal person, who, like, realizes, well, I'm just sick of suffering and I would like to get out of it. Well, I think that realization is only the first step. You have about 1 million more lifetimes to go of about the same thing.
Take off the excess.
Jugs! $10? in the collection plate. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. We need it out here.
Oh,
That's 10 to
great.
each of us, homie. That's 10 for each of us. That's a big deal. This is probably more donations than I've like ever gotten on a stream in history. I don't think that's a lie.
I think we have a very devoted following.
We do. The 10
Like,
people
we-
who could
we have-
the
we
10
got
people who
good
watch our shit are
friends.
great. I love you all.
Bro.
And that's the fucking best. Like, this is when we're not even at our peak of, like, offering things. Back when we do the t-shirt show, and we'd once in a while get, like, $50 in a night, and that was all well and good. But just for existing, just for being me, just for sucking today's dick, it's not bad. It's not a bad living.
I mean, I would have to say, like, ever since the tragedies in our lives that happened recently,
It wasn't tragic. I'm actually thrilled. And that's just a sign of my fucking mental disability, is how thrilled I am to be in my predicament. Fuck all that shit I was doing. That shit sucked.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, but I feel like this gave us like a little bit of a renaissance, being able to come out with like new content, new shit. I don't know, the people listening right now, like we have been pushing shit out. It's not just only our streams, like we're putting shit out. You know, it's like we're having fun with it, and it definitely seems to be going somewhere. I just started a YouTube channel, and I never done that before, and I'm just starting to fucking push it out. I'm gonna be doing like readings and shit, so stay tuned and all that.
Oh, hell yeah. We got Midwest Vikinger in the chat. Whoop, whoop. Unity out there. The meaning of life is don't die. Kind of like that. Or,
I mean,
kill the ego, preserve the body.
I mean, like, yeah, that it's definitely like the survival thing is like
no
part of the thing, and then what's next to reproduce. So like in the essence, like you've already won the game after you comed inside a girl. So like,
I think that whole thing is flawed, and I think it's more flawed. It's like more flawed at face value than people are willing to admit. People, that's always kind of set up to be like the end goal is having a family. Now, I wouldn't shit on having a family. That's not really my place. But I think like
I'm gonna tell you, it does not end. It does not end. If anything, it probably gets tougher.
Well, that's the thing.
Like, the happiness it brings, though, makes it all right.
I think these now procreation can only be a carnal drive, right? I don't think that's a judgment of morality, but I do think just like breathing and eating, I think procreation is carnal. You know, by its very definition.
I think there's two mindsets. Like the base mindset, like what you're saying is 100% true. But I guess like if you have like that spiritual connection, which takes that into a whole other thing, and then you have all these spiritual practices of like tantric, love making and like Karma Sutra and all this stuff that has that spiritual like cornerstone to it, and that. Especially when you have the connection with somebody else, it's something else. But I think that's one thing that a lot of people like want and fantasize about and think too much.
Tim put 15 in the collection plate. Thanks, homie. Oh, you people are the best. Love you all.
Yeah.
We had a discussion recently. We were talking about Manichaeism, the finer points of you know, occult Gnosticism, whatever the hell we were talking about. But that was one point that came up, was that a lot of these Gnostic schools were essentially against procreation.
Oh yeah, the ones in France.
Well, those were the Cathars, I believe.
Cathars, yes, the Cathars are like that.
A lot of them were said to be like that. And now that is like used as a way to deride them. However, all of the sources that say that they're not Gnostic sources that say this ever, and that's not to say that it's incorrect to be stated about them. It's just that we're never getting their side of the story. What we're getting is the enemies of Gnosticism at the time, but they're leaving out one core thing here: is that like Manichaeism, Catharism, all these weird Gnostic offshoots, they didn't say don't procreate. They were adamant that procreation was creating more attachment to the worldly prison, that of the demiurge, essentially.
Yeah.
That wasn't saying don't procreate. That was saying there are two classes of people. There is the priesthood who doesn't procreate, and then there's the lay people who are watched over by the priesthood. That is the same thing as Catholicism.
Yeah. The same system.
So basically, they're taking the same thing they practice, and then they're like exaggerating it to make fun of the Gnostics.
Well, I think like the camp of Catholicism was like everything is created by God, so like everything is good within His creation. Everything is perfect in its way, and then like you have the Gnostics where they come to the conclusion of, they rationalize it, that everything is evil. Like they look at the mountain ranges, they're like, I don't know, bro, this looks evil, bro. So like
this is a misunderstanding. This is how Irenaeus and like the early Christian, like the proto-Orthodox Christians, how they would frame it. Yeah. But I think it's more of an acceptance of a dual nature to everything. I think it's most palpable in the mind of man, where Satan is most readily observed and where God is most readily seen. Where do the works of God, shine through onto creation? Like it's from the minds of man. It's where man places significance. It's what man builds. Like that's mostly what we see as far as like the manifestations of the divine on earth. Well, in the same way, we see the devil and hell manifested on earth from the minds of men, just as equally. So it's not a statement of like the mountains are evil. It is like we have an attachment to these mountains that is creating multiplicity, creating duality, creating separation from God. The notion that we are not the mountains themselves is the prison that's limiting us. Just like Jesus said, one day you will move mountains and more. Like you are the mountains. You tell those mountains what to do. Those mountains only exist in your mind. They're only there because we all agreed they were there, essentially. And the second we change that up, we have dominion over the entirety of creation. It is only because of our oneness with it. The idea of separation is the prison that we built. It's the bars that we put between us. And that's what the demiurge is. And that's why when you look at the Gospel of Thomas, like a lot of people will, like I've said so many times, you read the Gospel of Thomas, it's like, what's Gnostic about this? I don't really know, because the things we think of as Gnostic is so quintessentially Gnostic today. They're not in there. It doesn't speak about a demiurge outright. It doesn't, nothing like that. It doesn't have like these planes of heaven that's talked about in your like your Gospel of Judas or whatever. It doesn't have any of that stuff. Well, what's Gnostic about it? It's that it is saying that the kingdom of heaven is already here if you could only realize it. If you could get out of your prison and just realize that it's already here. If you could realize that, and this is Jesus speaking, it's just a book of his sayings. He's saying if you could realize that you're my twin and we're the same thing, you would be out of your prison. That's where the Gnostic angle comes in. And this is where it gets all muddy, because like you'll listen to theologians talk about the Gospel of Thomas. They'll be like, we're not sure why this is Gnostic. And it's like, it's because Gnosticism, as we know it, is all bullshit. It's not real. There was no Gnostic church. There were many churches that deviated. I shouldn't even say deviated, because Rome was a deviation at the end of the day. But they were just churches that weren't in line with orthodoxy, that all just got thrown under the bus. And in doing that, basically, like the entire line of legitimate mysticism from the first century was cut off from Christianity.
But there has to be some sort of like experience, though. Like even though like the diverging ones from the mainstream, like they've had to have some sort of experiences to validate their rationality.
They literally had the lineage of the apostles. Not the right apostles. They chose the wrong apostles.
But what do you mean, like the apostles of Jesus?
Yes.
Like, are those?
I'm talking like, first century.
We're talking about Gnosticism, like before Jesus.
Gnosticism doesn't mean anything. Gnosticism existed before Christianity was popularized.
I'm talking about like those schools of thought back then. That's what I mean by Gnosticism.
The school of thought that was, at the end of the day, called Christian Gnosticism was the Thomasine tradition. From Thomas, is what they say. And there's just as much evidence to go along with that as Peter was the first pope. If not more. If not more, really, because there's not much evidence saying that Rome goes back to Peter. There's not much. I see a lot more Paul in Rome, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's legitimate. I think all of these segments of Christianity that claim lineages from the apostles, I believe it. I do. It all adds up. It all adds up to what the scriptures say, where they would have gone to continue their mission. It adds up to the traditions that go back for a very long time, who went where, what they were teaching. And then it adds up in the canon itself when you read the Gospel of John, and John calls Thomas Doubting Thomas. Why? Because Thomas didn't expect Jesus to physically return and usher in a physical kingdom. Thomas said that the kingdom was already here. These disagreements were with the apostles while they were alive as heads of their own churches with their own lineages. It's far messier than people realize.
That's a pretty interesting point you made there.
It is. It is. Avocado Adorable sent me that link to the Hanuman movie. We'll have to do a review of that. That sounds awesome. You should see Hanuman Moving Mountain. It's still there in Sri Lanka. Man, I sure wish I lived in India or one of these places like that. They say Rome was doomed because it was arched doors. Observe any home which had arched doors and windows, and how they doing financially and emotionally and socially. I'm curious about all of this. I don't know anything about that. I don't know what you're talking about. Sounds very interesting. Where else do we go with this whole Christianity thing? Like, where do I go with that, you know? Now, my next thought was, what's the likelihood that all of the Gospels were originally written in Greek? That the Gospels that we have today are the original sources for these stories, and they're not translations. Greek translations of Hebrew, Greek translations of Aramaic. Well, I'm starting to come to the conclusion that they probably were Greek. These probably are the original forms of these Gospels. So it's more a matter of dating. Gospel of John seems to come up as the latest gospel, and like I said, you have this debate with Thomas baked into the Gospel of John, which tells you that the Gospel of Thomas was around saying the things John disagreed with before the Gospel of John was written, or, you know, whoever claims to be John.
Yeah.
The Gospel of Thomas is, from what I can tell, that thing is 1st century. It's one of those things and that's the non-canonical one that nobody really reads. When you look into basically all the Gospels, the history is this, that they could be 1st century, they could be 3rd century, they're probably 2nd century. When you look into the canonical ones, that's basically what you find. Well, guess what? It's the same thing you find with Thomas. I'm willing to place all of these things like 1st century into the 2nd. So, oh man, we're in the wrong channel. Pengus just entered the call. Hey Pengus, how you feel? How you feel about Jesus? Give me your feelings on Jesus real quick.
I'm Jesus' top guy.
Thank you, Pengus. Thank you. We're gonna
lead the revolution.
we're gonna move to the other channel now. Thank you, Pengus. Thank you, Pengus. I'm in the middle of something. Thank you, Pengus. We thank Pengus over here. Pengus is Jesus' top guy. I'm on the wrong side. I'm on Flame's side. So yeah.
Hey, get out of my side.
Put your camera on, buddy.
My camera is on.
It's not on. It's not. Christ is King in chat. That's what we'd like to see.
Yeah, he has an Insta. Homie's asking about the Insta.
Insta? We do got Insta. What is my Insta?
It's Gather or Scatter.
Gather or Scatter Live. Gather or Scatter Live is my Insta. Most definitely. Get on it. I'm on TikTok more these days at Yakov Alive on TikTok. Yeah. TikTok and
That's
YouTube.
TikToks. catch our TikToks before the Chinese government gets found out.
I'll start uploading like crazy on Insta. I'll do that. I got all the videos ready to go. It wasn't giving me the dopamine hits I needed. You see? So where was I? We were talking about the Gospels. The key is, what other like first century literature relating to Jesus will we find in the future? Is that it? That can't be it, can it? We get around to the Dead Sea Scrolls, Nag Hammadi, all this stuff. I forget the particulars and all of this. There's stuff found by shepherds out in the middle of nowhere in some cave. Some vase got broken open, and bam, all of these scriptures that we never knew existed that start filling in gaps where we didn't even know there were gaps, starting answering questions. How is this gospel related to this gospel? What were they both influenced by? Stuff like that starts happening. It can happen so easily. I hope so. And like that's the sort of thing like Edgar Cayce would have talked about, the sleeping prophet, talking about like as we enter the new age, these like great treasures of antiquity would be found. And then he was talking about Egypt so often, but like what is under that Sphinx's paw, you know? What texts are we missing?
Apparently they've already went under there. They closed it off.
Yes, whoever is in charge of the Giza complex or whatever, they don't let people do anything interesting there. You cannot do any excavation. There's like no study allowed whatsoever, and I'm pretty sure that's because they know what the fuck is in there. Yep.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure it's evidence that like there was a civilization before what we know as the Egyptian civilization. There was a precursor people there.
Well, that would be Edgar Cayce talking about the Atlanteans, most definitely.
Yeah, and it's like this is where like there's kind of like a cognitive dissonance going on between I guess like our circles where we talk about like conspiracies and stuff like that, and like actual like academia, is that like we have like esoteric occult literature that basically says that Thoth was an Atlantean. You know, he came from there, and all this.
The Hermetic works of Hermes Trismegistus.
And it connects to like this real world conclusions that we found. Like the Sphinx has water erosion. It obviously has been there way before the pyramids, and like I said, it more than likely did belong to a precursor civilization there. You have stories about Thoth saying like how when he came to Egypt, it was a land of barbarians. Like like nothing was there. He brought everything there. He brought civilization to Egypt.
So, interesting thing about Hermes. The Herm is the word. A Herm that's like where Hermes got his name allegedly. A Herm was a stone marker for travelers on like a road. And what they would do is they would go up to this Herm, this stone, and they would anoint it with oil. That is the root of the word Christ. Anointed, Messiah, it's the anointed one. And now that is the root of the name of Hermes. What else is associated with Hermes? What about his staff with the snake around it, the caduceus? Now in the Old Testament, the brazen serpent, when the Israelites, they were out walking in the wilderness, and there was a plague of seraph upon them. It's not really clear what it is. It seems to mean like fiery flying serpent is like the literal translation. Burning serpent maybe, like poisonous snakes maybe something weirder. Now God told Moses to fashion a snake out of bronze and to put it on a stick and have his people look upon it that it might heal them of their affliction. This is an image of Christ on the cross. And it's so similar to the staff that Hermes is holding. Now, I don't know where I'm going with that. I've been working on that one for a while, but I'll tell you this. If you can make a connection between the brother of Jesus, Why is his name escaping me right now? Who's the brother of Jesus? James. If you can make a connection between James and I believe it was Apollo, who was Hermes' brother, you make a connection between James and Apollo, now you're on to something. That's what I've been thinking about.
Oh, say
You're
that
gonna get
last
real
word again?
schizo. Make a connection between Jesus' brother James and Hermes' brother Apollo. And if you can do that, then you're onto some real schizo takes, man. Now, I do see some similarities between Jesus and the character of Hermes Trismegistus. That might have been a product of its time. You know, the place where Hermeticism really rose, it was a very Christian place. And there's a lot of, like, you could say Kabbalah wrapped up in it. It was a meeting of a lot of things. You had Christian mysticism, you had Kabbalah, you had clearly other practices that were probably being borrowed from the East at the time. The hell are you doing?
Yes.
Pengus says Yak couldn't handle militant Christians on his stream. We'll do that bit. Yo, if you want to come on, Pengus, we'll do that bit. You just gotta let me be prepared for it.
Militant Christians.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying earlier to a homie. Like, right now, I'm basically an anarchist until Jesus returns. Then I'm total theocrat. I'm waiting for my king, yo. I've only got one king. He ain't here right now. What are you doing? You reading to yourself on stream?
No, I'm looking something up.
Ronaldo McNutt in the chat. Long time no see, Yakov. Welcome back, friend. Good to have you, dude. Play Shiv Tandav Stotram by Ravan and no copyright. That sounds pretty good. Want to experience Jesus? I do. Help me if you know how. Shiv Tandav. I'm going to keep that in mind. I'll have that on board for next time. That sounds awesome.
Alright.
What you got to say, homie? Add to this thing before we get into content that we have planned.
No, man. No, go on ahead.
Go on. Hold on. I'm doing something. You're supposed to fill time.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit! Yeah, one thing that did that remind me of that is staff of Ecclesiastes.
Yes, that's like the same deal. And me and Pengus were talking about this earlier when I was saying the caduceus was the origin of the medical symbol. He said it was that. I think it's conflicting information. It's all the same shit.
Well, it's funny because like they basically do represent the same thing. Like you also have like you were saying the similarities between Apollo and Jesus. Am I right? Is that what you're saying?
James, Apollo, and James.
Apollo and James. Okay. Well, you also have like Ecclesiastes. Like this man is Asclepius.
Asclepius? I think it's Asclepius.
What fucking Greek name? This guy is known as the Wounded Healer. And yeah, so he's the Wounded Healer. Like the story is that like he was poisoned during some fight, but like through that pain, he was still able to do great work. And it kind of sounds like a Jesus Masonic, not Masonic, a Messianic like figure. A man who would like go out and heal, but like he was always in constant pain. It's like the idea of like the wounded healer. It's like also like the idea of the shaman. The shaman is a sick man, and it's through these rituals and these practices that he heals himself. And once he heals himself, he goes out and he heals the world around him.
The Old Testament has this concept of the suffering servant. I believe it's found. I forget where it's found, but he is the one who is derided and mocked and killed for the truth, for God's love. And it's another image in the Old Testament of the sacrifice that Jesus would make in the future. But it is that I've eaten enough LSD to know that you're supposed to be a servant to your fellow man. I don't know. Hard to explain, but
No, dude, it's something that has to be experienced. It is hard to explain. You are right, but you have to experience that, and it takes a long time for some people that just don't have that higher state of consciousness to understand that, because to them it is something attached to their ego. They're like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this all the time? When am I going
To tell someone to serve is to tell them to debase themselves, but that's not the message.
That's not true. That's not. Yeah.
That's the opposite. The true message is that, like, when you can learn to help others selflessly, then you can help yourself, because then you're seeing, like, yourself in others. You actually want their, the best for them.
And that goes back to what you were saying with the Gospel of Thomas, is that once you realize me and you are the same, like, why do you have to have your foolish ego get in the way? The kingdom of God is now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what Jesus means when he says the kingdom of God is within you. I and you, that we may be one in the Father.
Yeah, man. That's the thing. Like, it's a constant fight against our own nature. Like, it's crazy that we have had these experiences and these these spiritual scriptures and all this experiences, that yet again, like, it's a constant warfare against the ego, I just basically, I guess, everything that's just evil. It's a constant fight.
This is back to the Gnostic point of everything just being a construct. I had a wise man once told me that the world is a battlefield made to look like a playground. And that's kind of how it is. Like, we build all of this whole thing, all of these things we're attached to, all these things we love so much, just for them to bite us in our asses. And that then, speaking practically, it's getting a little bit flowery and new agey here, but here's the reality: is I think reincarnation is real. I want to stop suffering. I think these two things are absolute fact. I think the only way to stop suffering is to do things without identifying with my ego, to not stop identifying as the actor, and stop expecting things as a result of my actions. That is the only way to stop suffering.
Stop suffering. I concur.
Because the attachment to the physical world is suffering inherently. I think that applies. And once again, this isn't a moral a moral stance, but I think that applies equally to a family, to your own family. And that's why the Bible says that Jesus came to what did he say? To cleave families apart. That's what he said, to tear brother from brother, father from son, to tear them apart, bringing a sword. It's because you're identifying with something outside yourself, and you were attached to this thing. And that's the problem, is that it's not outside of you, and if you accept that it can be done right. But the constant need to identify this thing as outside yourself, which is inherently what a parent has to do all the time, just by nature of being a parent. I think that's attachment to the physical world. That's what keeps us coming back here.
Yeah.
Once again, it's not, and that sounds like a harsh thing to say, but it's not a good or bad thing. It's just our paths.
Yeah, us living in the West in a, I guess, first world country. Like what you're saying, the world is a battlefield. It definitely seems like that. It's just that we aren't getting shrapnel in our asses and shit. It's getting addicted to television, or addicted to pornography, addicted to the food, all these worldly pleasures that are dragging us down to a lower consciousness, that we're just stuck in that. It is a trap. It's the social security check, the crack money. You don't want to let it go. we have to fight it. That I guess like our fight in the West and in the first world country is a mental and spiritual fight, whereas like probably in the Middle East right now they have to survive physically by doing combat and stuff like that. Wherever war is going on, but right now our war is this.
Yeah. It's always that war between the two sides of you. The old man and the new man, once again. And like, one side's got to kill the other side, dude. You're going to die either way.
I got pulled chicken out of the oven real quick. Bear with me.
We got chicken in the oven, boys. There's music going, dude. How everyone been, dude? Life been rough. We getting through it. I guess when Flame gets back, we'll get the actual content. We'll stop dilly-dallying around, dude. Hit me with any questions you got out there. Down to give you my takes on anything. Literally anything. Avocado Adorable says, detachment is letting go of loving things. That's why people gives to Shiva/Shiva Linga. Letting go of hash equals offering of hash to Shiva. Toxicity of love of Shiva and Ma is too much. That I don't need hash. So they're saying overcome with the intoxication of the love of God, really. Everything an offering, everything a sacrifice. I don't chug this beer. God chugs this beer. It just goes back to source, right? Woo! Alright. I actually got some cool stuff to go over today, believe it or not. I've got a take on David Paulides. I kind of want to talk about Mormons. I kind of want to talk about UFOs. It's getting crazy out there. Why does all this shit come together like this? Why do I have to feel like I'm the crazy one? I don't know. This is our reality. Let's start easy. Start with Nickelodeon. Something, takes us back home. Amanda Bynes placed on psychiatric hold after roaming streets naked. That's like a dream to a lot of us, to be driving down the road and there's Amanda Bynes and we pick her up. She used to be good looking. When I say used to, I don't mean Dan Schneider used to. I mean like the mid-2000s. Play Shivtan Dab Stotram, bro. I will send you Indian UFO documentary. Let's do it. I've got nothing better going on right now. Let's figure this out. What do you think is going on Flame's end? Why is there so much shitty audio coming out when I'm trying to set a mood? Nobody can figure this shit out. What's up with that, dude? I can hear myself. It sucks. I'm gonna pull up this song. This one looks right. Tell me if it's wrong out there. Avocado. Get a little bit of a musical break going. Yeah! Woo! Is this right? This sounds right. This is dank. So good. You said it's wrong. I looked up what you said. Which one is it? You look it up and you tell me exactly what the title is. Paste the title into the chat. You told me that wasn't a banger? Are you serious? I'll listen to whatever you got, though. I think that was a banger. Give me an update in the chat. What should I be pulling up? I played the old version. Get the modern version. Why would I ever get the modern version? I think old version is always the way to go with media like this, right? Old version closer to God, right? Let's try this one. Okay, I'm playing it, right?
जल प्रवाह पावितस्थले कलेवलम्ब्य लम्बितां भुजङ्गतुङ्गमालिकान्तमड्डमड्डमड्डमन्निनादवड्डमर्वयं चकार चण्डताण्डवं तनोतु नः शिव शिवम् जटाकटाह सम्भ्रम भ्रम निलिम्ब निर्झरी विलोल वीचि वल्लरी विराजमान मूर्धनि
We got a musical break happening. You can't hear it. You can't enjoy it. Muting Flame so that he can't enjoy the auspicious music on this holy night. Someone mute that guy.
संतति प्रमोदमान मानसे कृपा कटाक्ष धोरणी निरुद्ध दुर्धरापदि क्वचित् दिगंबरे मनो विनोदमेतु वस्तुनि जटा भुजंग पिंगल स्फुरत् प्रणामणि प्रभा कदंब कुंकुमद्रव प्रलिप्त दिग्वधूमुखे मदान्द सिन्धुर स्फुरत् वगुत्तरीय मेदुरे मनो विनोदमद्भुतं बिभर्तु भूत भर्तरि सदा शिवं भजाम्यहं सदा शिवं भजाम्यहम् ॐ नमः शिवाय सहस्रलोचन प्रभृत्य शेषलेख शेखर प्रसून धूलि धोरणी विधूसराङ्घ्रि पीठभू भुजङ्गराजमालया निबद्ध जाट जूटक श्रियै चिराय जायतां चकोर बन्धुशेखरः ललाट चत्वरज्वल धनञ्जय स्फुलिङ्ग भानि पीत पञ्चसायकं नमन्निलिम्पनायकं सुधामयूखलेखया विराजमान शेखरं महाकपालि सम्पदे शिरोजटालमस्तु नः कराल भाल पट्टिका धगद् धगद् धगज्ज्वलद् धनञ्जयाहुतीकृत प्रचण्ड पञ्चसायके धराधरेन्द्र नन्दिनी कुचाग्र चित्रपत्रक प्रकल्पनैक शिल्पिनी त्रिलोचने रतिर्मम मेघमण्डली निरुद्ध
Let's unmute that boy. So Flame, we're listening. We're feasting our ears upon what?
I was listening.
You're hearing it?
Yeah.
What's it called? I'm trying to find the words so I can say this again. I'm trying to find it.
It was dope, dude.
Shivtananda Vastos. I can't say it.
I'm watching it mixtape.
The point is, this is written by Ravana, Demon King, to offer prayer to Shiva. Songs by the Demon Kings showing their respect to God, because what else can you do in the face of such things?
Man, dude, I really want to see how the mosh pits are at that, dude.
Dude, you get about, yeah, you smoke about 5 hashes, you get lit.
You inject 5 hashes.
Yeah. I also want to note that Tim, who sent us $15, says suffering is divine. How right you are.
Dude, I remember. I'm about to get real personal.
Let's do it.
Alright, dude. After I broke my hand, dude, I was like so fucking mad. And I took my fucking painkillers, keto relic or some bullshit like that. I took a bunch of painkillers, and then I ate some mushrooms, and I was just like, the thing about mushrooms is that I feel like they give you a reality check. They show you what is up with you inside you that you may not even know, what your ego has been hiding from you. And when I took these things, I was so fucking like, I had never had a trip like that. I never had a trip because, you eat mushrooms, I do the whole shaman bit, and, like I'm supposed to be Zen, Buddhist bullshit. No, I was not when I did that. I was like frothing from the mouth. I was fucking, like angry, like screaming into the pillow and shit. I had to let all that shit out. And that was all the suffering that I had not really been paying attention, that I was just brushing it off because, society says you're a man, deal with it and shit like that, so you just keep on moving. But no, everything I had pent up just like fucking released. And then I had to, as we say in our shamanic traditions, to give it back to Pachamama, which means like I have to go outside, I have to get rooted into the ground and give that suffering back to the earth. Because like sometimes it gets too much. So that's something that we do in that tradition.
Was that just feet to the ground?
Yeah, feet to the ground, everything into the ground. You pray, you put your hands in that dirt. You put your fucking feet in there.
Be the dirt. Realize that there's no difference between the dirt and the stuff the stars are made out of. And it's all you.
Yeah, the idea behind that is that, the whole cliche, everything returns to the earth. So, like when you try to commune with Gaia, the people, like I guess like in we call it Pachamama, and that we call it Gaia. So they call it, everyone else calls it Gaia. So you know who I'm talking about.
I seen her.
Like,
I love her.
You return back to her. You return back to your mother.
Indeed. Alright. So I had just started talking about motherfucking Amanda Bynes being placed on psychiatric hold after roaming the streets naked. What would you do if you rolled up on Amanda Bynes completely naked in the middle of the street?
Dude, I'd probably join her. But...
Yeah, that's true. We go full tribal. Full tribal.
Shit. So what's the story? Was that MK Ultra psychotic break?
Yeah, definitely, most definitely. There we go. Yeah, so an eyewitness tells us Bynes was seen walking near downtown Los Angeles early Sunday morning without any clothes. We're told Bynes waved a car down, telling the driver she was coming down from a psychotic episode. Amanda herself then called 911. Now, I just want to know if anyone's ever come down from a psychotic episode before. Is that how it works? I don't think that's how it works at all. I think you come down from drugs.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really comment on that.
My psychotic episodes are long. They're drawn out so long. I can't tell where they begin and end. I can only realize it happened after I'm out of it.
Damn, yeah.
That's how it works for me.
Or no, you're right, because it's like I'm over here trying to think like, did I ever have one that I was not doing that? I was not eating mushrooms.
Well, exactly. There's that too. No, I have episodes, no doubt about it. I get manic as fuck. I'm lucky enough to not cause problems in my life usually. The problems come about, don't get me wrong, but I'm not running around naked in the street calling 911. I forgot where I was going with that. But the point is, yeah, I'd do her.
Do you think Amanda Bynes was on something?
Well, that's the thing, is because like just because she's on drugs doesn't mean that she wasn't like mind controlled and like raped, you know?
Yeah,
All of these things can kind of, in fact, they generally go together. You know? And she was on all that, yo. She was on all that when Dan Snyder was like the producer on the show. And Brian Peck was around, and that guy went to prison. And then he went back on all that.
Snyder was the feet man, right?
Huh?
He was the feet man. He was like, yeah.
Dan Schneider was the feet man. Brian Peck impregnated one of the female cast members on all that.
And then his brother, Michael Schneider.
Michael Snyder from the Game Place, yeah. From Games Workshop. Yeah. Michael Snyder from Games Workshop. Yeah. Most definitely. So it's a sad thing. These things keep happening to these starlets who were obviously abused. Law enforcement sources say Bynes was taken to a nearby police station where a mental health team determined she needed to be placed on a 5150 psych hold. 5150, is that like, I'm gonna fucking kill myself?
I don't know.
I think that's what that is.
I've never been institutionalized.
Me either. Came very close, but I was not. Fortunately, our sources say it doesn't appear Bynes was hurt at all during the ordeal. Though things could have been much worse, given the area she was found. What the fuck do you think that means? I don't even want to elaborate. A source close to Amanda tells us she's currently hospitalized and will likely continue to receive care for several days. Typically, a psychiatric hold lasts 72 hours, but it can be extended. If they really need to jack you up on drugs, make sure you're not saying anything. It was almost 1 year to the day when Amanda's 9-year conservatorship was officially terminated. Amanda's mother was her conservator, starting back in 2013 when it was clear she was having issues with her mental health. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. After a series of bizarre incidents, including one where she set her neighbor's driveway on fire, almost engulfing her dog in flames, she was sent to a psychiatric ward for treatment. Now, one thing I want to say is I do think the MO of these weird groups that pull crap like this, I mean, I think they push people to have some kind of breakdown. And then the thing is, when you go to a psychiatrist over this stuff, they'll never not diagnose you. You're never gonna leave and be like, "Oh, I'm fine. They didn't diagnose me." Then if they said I'm fine, that's not what happens. You always get diagnosed, and you always get put on psychotropic drugs. So I think kind of the MO here is to push these people to break. Then you send them to see your guy, your psychiatrist, whoever's in your pocket of these. Whoever's got their tentacles in all these places, whoever these fucking people are, you send them to see your guy who put them on whatever drugs that's going to make them more tolerable and malleable. Right?
Yeah. He said, I think was talking about the South Park episode where they did that to Britney Spears. I was just thinking about that episode the other day, is how they used to have the priest class. This happened in I don't know of other cultures, but I know this happened down in Peru. Is that they would pick out the most handsome or beautiful person in the tribe.
Handsomest boy.
Yeah, I guess the most handsome person or woman or whatever, and then they would prop him up as a king or as for a day, and then later on they would ritually sacrifice them or mummify them, and that was a sacrifice to some sort of god. I was just thinking about that episode because how similar is that? In that episode, they end up killing the celebrity. The celebrity is being killed. That's the sacrifice.
Well, I believe it was the Mayans.
The Mayans.
I'm not totally sure. Aztecs, Mayans, who could say? Who could say? I think this sort of thing is portrayed in like Apocalypto, Mel Gibson's Aztec movie. Yeah. But the thing is, the people that they were going to sacrifice spent a year treated as gods. They were painted blue, and treated as if they were God. Then once the year is up, they were sacrificed. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of things going on there. Some people have said that's
in the Aztec culture. Yeah, but what I was talking about was, except they mummified them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think all of these things, they can be seen. Some people look at this stuff and think this is like a perverted image of Jesus. Like this is a ritual that shows that at some point they did get the gospel and then they screwed it all up, basically. Now that would go right in line with like Mormon thinking.
Yeah, Mormon.
But I think the other take here is that is essentially the Hiram Abiff legend from Freemasonry. Not to say that like they're practicing Freemasonry. All of these rituals where you have the sacrificed priest king. I think it's all the same thing. I think you see the same ritual in Egypt with Osiris. That's what births the god-man Horus. It's because they had to kill the priest king. Oh, I don't know what that means. I think that could be a concept that's just ingrained in our DNA, potentially. And like, what is the Jesus connection to that? I don't know. But it's all very interesting. And yeah, I think you're right when you were talking about the celebrities being like images of that. I absolutely think that.
Oh, it's so crazy how like they do these occult things so blatantly in our faces, and we're just like, there's some of us that know, and then there's like everybody's just so like just so blind to it. Like you have the whole CERN was a performance they did like a month ago or something like that. Like, come on, like how blatant is that, dude?
I don't know about this thing a month ago, but they do stupid performances at CERN all the time.
Well, they videotaped some recent one. And it's like it's like they were imitating the Kali dance. But they do this shit all in front of our faces, man.
They sure do. Crazy. Yeah. We got Avocado in the chat saying, talking about the song we were listening to, it's in Sanskrit. Song demonstrating Shiva when he dances, he destroys the earth. Earth tremors. And that's the statue that's at CERN, is Shiva.
Yeah, so, that's who I meant, Shiva. Yeah. That's who I meant.
Yep. Let's go on with this nonsense. Alright, that's enough of this Amanda Bynes crap. They're demon possessed. You can't help the all that kids. Say a prayer for the all that kids. They got demons in them.
All that kids? What the hell is that?
The kids from All That, dude. All That.
All That. Oh, okay.
Coolio's there, dude. He's seen what was going on. He didn't like it one bit.
He didn't like it one bit?
No, sir. Right, nah, yeah. I'm about to head out, dog.
David Snyder's chasing after him. I was like, yo, Coolio. Oh, go.
Oh, he ain't about that life, dog. Alright, let's just go right into David Paulides right now. David Paulides, a man, we all love him. We all love his missing 411 theory. You know, the theory that it's not Bigfoot, but it'll get you. But only if you're smart, or also really stupid. I don't know. I get the sense when I'm looking through his books, and I've said this many times, that he's broadening the criteria for what is a missing 411 case to the point where literally anything is a missing 411 case. But that's how you sell books.
That's how it's so open-ended, because it's like you have two camps. You have the Bigfoots doing it, and then you have like the obscure group, the Fae are doing it, or shit, even the gnomes are doing it. Like it's just it's so open-ended.
I don't think any of that matters, to be honest. Hey, What was that, money? More money? Holy shit. Chris Chan has tipped $5. Thanks for keeping me in your thoughts, boys. Chris Chan says.
Homie came through.
Yeah, P.S.
Quickville forever.
Yeah, glad to see Chris Chan's out of jail and sending me money. Thought it'd be the other way around. I don't know. Where was I? So, yeah, David Paulides be out and about. People will be saying to me, well, he's a cop. He's a police officer. That's why he does things the way he does, because he's a cop. Well, I'd say this. He's not a fucking cop. He's an author who has written as many books as David Icke has at this point. And that's like saying David Icke, oh, he's just a fucking soccer player, dude. David Icke? It's like, nah, he's an author. He was writing books that you buy. And that's how David Paulides is. But now, I think it was Missing Enigma was the YouTube channel that came out with an interview with basically like the top investigator into the old Dennis Martin case. The Dennis Martin case is one of the quintessential missing 411 cases where the boy's out with his family, boy goes missing. There's like reports of like strange animals being heard. There's a sighting of a wild man with something on his back. And all of this stuff seems weird. They never find the kid. The kid is like spotted, way higher up, way in terrain they couldn't have gotten across. It's just the quintessential case. Well, this guy's saying that David Paulides is full of absolute donkey dicks completely. So, now first of all, he's only debunking what David has to say in the one case. But I'll tell you, it's like a smoking gun here. And it's not even like I agree with everything he's saying personally. There are a few issues that, if true, I think you have to look at everything David Paulides ever did, again, just as with a skeptical eye. Now, there's littler things, like misquotes. They talk about the wild man. The wild man that was said to have been there was not like a hairy person. It wasn't like an ape man. It wasn't like a Neanderthal. The person who said that said no, it was just like a disheveled guy who was wearing ratty clothes. And frankly, that's why they basically tossed it out as evidence, is because like that happens. Now, it's not to say that the police didn't do. The police probably fucked up somewhere along the line, because that's one thing where I really disagree with the guy who's in this interview. He's got a very cop take of, there was no criminal activity, we didn't arrest anybody. How could there be criminal activity if we didn't arrest anybody? And that's like the most cop shit I've ever heard in my life. So he's not really helping to solve the case. But I'll tell you this. David Paulides claimed that a key witness in the case, I say key witness, I mean the last living investigator from that time period, from when it happened, the last living investigator, claimed he was dead in 2010 in his book, while there is like concrete evidence of him being alive in 2016 and shitting on David Paulides. Now, if David Paulides was either too lazy or too stupid to figure that out, that the last witness to the events was still alive, that he couldn't be fucked to go get that report, he was either too stupid, or he was lazy, or he was dishonest, or whatever. That calls everything into question. Because first of all, like I said, it's one of the quintessential cases. It's like what the whole thing is built on. And then it's like, alright, you're talking about like different camps. You're talking about how there's like the Fae camp, and there's the Bigfoot camp, there's the UFO camp. Well, not really. Like, there is David Paulides' camp. And that's the one that matters, because he's the one who wrote the books, right? Well, I'll tell you this, he wrote 2 entire books about Bigfoot before he wrote Missing 411. And they contain a lot of the same information. You see the granite fields. You see the berry bushes. You see a lot of this shit, a ton of it. You have the missing people in these books. He's already talking about missing people going missing in the fucking books. He's talking about, like, in his Bigfoot book before Missing 411, he's talking about the natives leaving their infant babies for the Bigfoot to take and either eat or raise. And you're going to tell me he's not saying it's Bigfoot?
Okay, but like that brings up the question of why did he retract like that?
Because it sounds stupid. You can say the exact same thing.
What he just told me was more cooler than what he's putting out right now.
It's not about what's cool. He wants to seem legitimate. He wants to seem legitimate.
Oh my god.
And now, but this is when it gets more convoluted in my head. because he wants to seem legitimate, so he keeps all of the facts, all of the accounts, all of the missing person stuff, all the weird stuff with the federal government, whatever the fuck. Gets rid of Bigfoot. So now it's not a paranormal thing necessarily. No, it's no, I didn't say Bigfoot ever. And like, so he's maintaining some this air of like professionalism, I want to say. I don't know, for lack of a better word. But then to me it starts to make sense what he's doing. When his movie comes out, Missing 411 The Hunted, it was directed by his son. So I think he wanted that legitimacy because he wanted to kick off his son's film career, essentially. I mean, it's not like he wants to sell his books too, but he also wants to build like an empire for his family. That's what you do when you're just selling stuff. Now, the movie sucked. You watch that movie, you will come away with the opposite opinion from what you're supposed to have by the end of it. You will think that kid's family killed him. You will. Because it's a poorly made movie. You could edit this movie somehow to have not made that point, but it was done poorly because his son sucked at filmmaking, apparently. Bummer. Son fucking killed himself. Son killed himself, dude. Killed himself. As you can imagine... I don't know. He probably just had fucking mental problems, and David Paulides was desperately trying to like find something for him, like so many of us in our lives. Like, I don't know. It sounds like a very familiar story, honestly. But so like his son kills himself. David Paulides gets kind of weird. He goes silent for a while, as he would. When he turns up, you see like he'll have like a picture of Krishna like on his desk, which is weird. I never would have thought that he would be that kind of guy. That's influence from his son. This is stuff his son was into. His son was probably into drugs. He was into esoteric religion. Sounds very familiar or something like that. I don't know. But once his son kills himself, I think everything changes for David Paulides. I think he starts to second guess his bullshit from the previous books. I think there might be a sense of guilt for misleading families whose maybe family members, maybe their family members killed themselves, went off into the woods and killed themselves. Maybe that's what happened, you know? You never expect it. Everyone that happens will be like, I can't imagine it happening. I couldn't see it coming. And I'm sure he felt the same way about his son. So he starts thinking about that, feeling bad. So what does he do at this point? He injects UFOs. Now it's UFOs. Because now it has to be goofy again. Mm-hmm. But Bigfoot's not like, it's not relevant. Nobody cares about Bigfoot. UFOs are a big topic. So you get to make it goofy again. You can stop like misleading people. You're still misleading people, but now it's goofy. Nobody takes UFOs seriously. And you can also make bank doing it. And I think that's where David Paulides is. I think it's a very sad story.
Damn. Maybe you call him out.
I do on Twitter. He doesn't respond. He's not responding.
We got to show up at his event. Ask him that.
We're gonna go protest his dead son or something.
No. We go to a convention and he takes questions and you hide in the audience and you ambush him.
Yeah, I tried to Missing 411
him. Yeah. You ask that question. You lay accusation to him.
He's a sad man who likes to sell books. What can we say about David Paulides these days? I'm trying to get a homie on here, Mr. Duffy81. Look up his videos on YouTube, Mr. Duffy81. I'm trying to get him on here. Go into his comments. Tell him to come on Gather Scatter. Tell him to hit up Yakov. Tell him. He knows I exist, but he's not saying, he didn't tell me he'd come on yet, unless I missed it. Maybe you'll see him. But schizo fucking videos, ranting and raving about how David Paulides is like in the Jesuits and like the Freemasons and stuff, which is awesome. Just the content I wanted on my show, really. Schizo guys on the Schizo podcast doing schizo videos together, schizo collabs. You see where I'm going with this?
Schizo collabs.
Yeah, man. We all get a little retarded together, make some money. Thanks everyone out there in chat. Yeah. You're all one federal agent, but I love you. It just makes it easier to love you that way. It's true. Or were we?
You gotta coin that, dude. Schizo collabs. Just like content clash, we have schizo collabs.
Yep. No doubt. So what about that time when Cain appeared to Joseph Fielding Smith's brother and talked with an apostle? The hell would that have to do with Bigfoot? I don't know, dude. So now
elaborate.
I'm trying. I'm surfing the web. I'm trying to find where the introduction is here. So the Mormons have a very interesting take on Bigfoot, as they do for most things. Apparently, that is Cain, the Cain from the Bible who slew Abel, the first murderer. His punishment, his mark, was to walk the earth, never able to die, as a Bigfoot monster.
That's pretty.
It's pretty cool. Let's go to the source here. Perhaps the most well-known story is that of Apostle... Okay, so it's a Mormon apostle. That makes a lot more sense. Apostle David W. Patton's alleged encounter with Cain in 1835. According to an account found in the Life of David W. Patton, the first apostolic martyr, Patton was on his way to Abraham O. Smoot's home when he encountered a very unusual individual. I suddenly noticed a very strange personage walking beside me. For about 2 miles. His head was about even with my shoulders as I sat in my saddle. He wore no clothing, but was covered with hair. His skin was very dark. He said that he had no home, that he was a wanderer on the earth. He said that he was a very miserable creature, and he had earnestly sought death, but that he could not die, and his mission was to destroy the souls of men. This is a Bigfoot sighting. By, like, essentially...
He's
like
talking with the Bigfoot.
Yeah, the Bigfoot comes out. This is basically like a cowboy homie. He's on his horse, he's riding along, dude, and the Bigfoot comes out. And the Bigfoot is just as tall as he is while he's on the horse. And it's like, what the fuck is your deal, Bigfoot? And he's like, I'm trying to die, but y'all can't kill me. You can't kill me hard enough. Now I'm here to mess up your souls. So, I don't know. Bigfoot evil? I don't know, dude. If you ask the Muslim community, he's Al-Jassasa. He's the companion of the Antichrist. So really, it all kind of adds up.
The companion of the Antichrist.
Yep.
So, Bigfoot is, he's about to, wage war alongside, the Antichrist in the end of days?
Yes. He will do all the fighting.
That's going to be crazy.
Alright. So, now we've connected Bigfoot to Mormons. Let's go a little deeper here. Inside Robert Bigelow's decades-long obsession with UFOs, the budget hotel magnate and inflatable space habitat maker has a unique side project. In 1994, a Mormon family bought a 480-acre plot in Utah's Uinta? I don't know how to say that. Utah's Uinta Basin, thinking they'd get back to the land. But this particular land was weird. It came with 2 large, thrice-over wolves that refused to die by bullet, cattle with their reproductive organs sucked clean out, and a multitude of UFOs, as they told the Deseret News in 1996. It was driving them bonkers. So, off into the races immediately. Mormon family buys some land, 2 large thrice-over wolves. So that means they are wolves that are 3 times the size of normal wolves that seem to be invulnerable to bullets. If you read Hunt for the Skinwalker, I think is the book, it's a big story in there. It's a pretty good story. Cattle with the Huh?
Oh, that sounds exactly like the sighting that happened at Skinwalker Ranch.
It is. That's where we're going with this. Cattle with their reproductive organs sucked clean out. So that is cattle mutilation. So there's a multitude of ideas that could go along with that. And then you had the UFOs, which could be tied to all of this shit, potentially. So Robert Bigelow saw their story. Today, the Nevada businessman is known for founding Bigelow Aerospace, which spun off a business to sell its expandable space habitats just last Tuesday. But in 1995, he had also founded something called the National Institute for Discovery Science, an organization built to research paranormal phenomena. Soon after reading the newspaper story, he took Skinwalker off the family's hands, and his institute set up shop. So right here, I mean, it says all you need to know. So this guy with his aerospace company, who clearly had like government subsidization and like funding happening here for space habitats. Are you kidding me? Yeah. He buys Skinwalker Ranch to set up his National Institute for Discovery Science to research paranormal phenomenon. Okay. So this is a guy who's already in. He's in with the big boys. If you got the aerospace company that's selling fucking space habitats to the fucking breakaway motherfuckers who are trying to leave Earth, which certainly a thing going on. Like that's what that adds up to me. Like he's in on that whole deal to just leave Earth, colonize somewhere else.
Yeah, I have something to go on that. So basically, you're saying like these people want to leave Earth, right?
I think there's a breakaway civilization, at least attempting, if not already existing.
What a better way than just opening up a doorway and walking through it?
Yeah.
Instead of having to get in your fucking rocket and fly into space with all the dangerous scenarios.
What are you proposing they're doing? What is the technology?
The thing is at Skinwalker Ranch is that there is some sort of like obviously the paranormal activity. There's some sort of vortex, energy source, energy vortex of some sort, this sort of thing, that is causing like these portals to open up, and this was reported being seen from Skinwalker Ranch, where sometimes they would see things come out of it or things go into them.
I think all of these stories are crap, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I think what's going on here is much clearer. I think okay, so notice Mormons owned that land. So we'll get deeper into that. I think there could be implications there. I think that was like a spot where early on a deep underground military base was basically put, or at least like there was facilities there that they wanted to use to expand. I think the federal government wanted that land. I think two things could have happened there. You could have had the people who already owned the land in league with the government get paid off, give them the land, or you can actually have, I think, the government just scaring people off the land. I think that's possible too, but I think there is some sort of installation there. I think it was beneficial to the government that Bigelow Aerospace owned the land because of their technological development, their industry, this or that.
They didn't have an installation there the whole time.
I think there has been.
You would have to build that there. These sightings go all the way back before we even colonized this fucking place.
Skinwalker Ranch, I think that's bullshit. I think you'd have a hard time sourcing that.
They say the Indians, man.
All of this information comes from George Knapp's book. George Knapp is like a Netflix guy.
I don't know who any of who George Knapp is, but I know like
all of this information. Huh? Well, I mean, I've never seen anybody source Skinwalker Ranch as like Native American shit. I've seen like reports of Native American ghosts, but that was never like Native Americans saying it.
I don't know about ghosts, but
that's the thing. All the stories are stupid. Every single one of them is stupid. I think it's an Area 51 thing. They want you to think there's all sorts of crazy stuff happening there, when really it's far more mundane. Is that these facilities go into deep underground military bases that are essentially cities. And I think that's what's happening. Like, we know that out in that area, we just have military installations built into the Rockies. Do you think they end at the Rockies? These things are entire cities that go deep under the earth. I think this has kind of always been the plan since the U.S. expanded out into that area. It seems to me they always saw the Rockies as like a major fortification, and it's like that whole area, I think, has expanded into just a webway of underground tunnels, an entire city, essentially. We can talk about, like, a breakaway civilization there. I've heard many stories about how underneath that area, like underneath the Denver airport, would be, like, the hub for the entire thing, is what people would say. And that they have an entire, like, cabinet and president and Congress and all of this stuff ready to go if something happened above ground.
Yeah.
Now, I think all of this stuff with Skinwalker Ranch, I think it is made to keep people off the land. And now that's the thing. It's like it seems almost counterintuitive that way, because now you're making all these stories. Doesn't that make people want to go to it? But the thing is, this is hardcore private property. You are not allowed to go there. You cannot go there. And when you get there, you'll realize, man, I can't actually go there at all. You'll think how serious it looks. You'll think, like, my God.
Security.
You would never have the chance. But it's the same thing with Area 51. Just because you think there's an alien body there, it doesn't actually make you want to go to Area 51. You can make a meme of it, but nobody actually goes because you know you'll get fucking shot. Right?
Yeah.
I think all of this crap, I think it's all crap. And that's the thing is, like, all of these spooky stories are just made so that they can fucking stamp it and market it and sell it on fucking Netflix and fucking sell books and profit off the whole fucking thing while keeping it secret at the same time, while diverting the entire thing away from it. Now, this is a guy who was working on, like, weird future tech. I don't know. He's the guy who's in charge of this place. Yeah, I think there is a major installation underneath it. I frankly think people are sent to go work there when in reality they are being, like, there is some fucking mind control test is being ran on them, and that's why they saw fucking aliens, because they got MK Ultra'd into seeing it, into being abducted by aliens. I think that shit's happening there.
So you're saying, are you implying that these alien abductions are getting free labor?
What?
Is that what you like?
I think these people are literally sent there in the pretense that they're working, when in reality they're going to have an alien abduction beamed into their fucking heads so that they'll be a disinfo agent forever.
That's pretty funny.
It's not too far off from things that, like, Bill Cooper said, where he said he had like naval clearance and he was shown things that he believes were complete bullshit just to mislead him and make him go say things that were wrong.
Yeah, I do remember him saying that.
And that was all talking about aliens and weird stuff like that too.
Yeah, man. There's so much of that. Like, it's like when somebody's so readily available to speak on that, it's like, are they really telling the truth? It's like the Coast to Coast dilemma. You want to sit down and listen to Coast to Coast and listen to all this juicy shit, but like half of these motherfuckers are full of shit.
We got Whoop Conda in the chat. Whoop whoop, brother. Whoop whoop. The homies are falling on hard times trying to get to the gathering. Falling on hard times, daddy, hard times. Yeah, I think it's weird too, because I think, like, Bill Cooper's the classic example. He's a guy I think was out there, like, whistleblowing when he shouldn't have been whistleblowing, but at the same time he was out there, I think, also, and he would say so by the end of his career, or whatever you would call it, that he was spilling fucking disinformation for the powers that be for a long time. And he didn't know where the line was, and this is all sloppy shit. It's all a sloppy mess when you look at these intelligence agencies and how they operate. It's a mess. That's why they have to use, like, pedophilia and rape to keep everyone in line. But then it's like, he's talking about this, and eventually he's driven off the road and he loses a leg over it. He says someone tried to kill him. And it's like, which part did they try to kill him for? You don't know. What message is sent?
Wakanda says that the aliens are underwater. I kind of see that take. Like, I definitely see that, because you have a lot of these recent UFO sightings of the things going into the water, and they're like clear as day. Especially the ones that the Air Force are picking up around Puerto Rico, and that's closer to Bermuda Triangle.
I think this is all deep underground military based stuff. I think there's an entire network underground that the black projects are using. I think this is all our own technology, our own materials, our own, pilots, whatever. And that's why you see them on TV.
I know. I have a hard time believing that we are the only ones with this kind of stuff.
That's all well and good. Okay, so back to Bill Cooper. These crafts that fly directly into the ocean are exactly what he said he was saying. They're exactly the same. Now, by the time he got to the end of his lifetime, he was saying that he thought that these were definitely government crafts. They were definitely military crafts And he said they were naval craft specifically, and that he was shown fake documents to go out there and let people think that they were actually aliens. Why? So that when people started seeing these things and started having to question things, real confused how these things got around with no sound, no propulsion, when they couldn't understand them, they wouldn't just blame the government and be like, what are you hiding? They'd be like, there's aliens, space brothers. Because it's way easier than taking responsibility. And I think what we're seeing is, like, that's why we see them on TV. If these were actual alien crafts, they would not show them on TV. But these things that fly directly into the ocean, always on TV.
On TV?
Yeah, Tucker Carlson.
Well, he's getting that footage from fucking the Air Force, Navy.
Really? Because I saw it on YouTube about 10 years before Tucker Carlson showed it.
I don't know what Tucker Carlson showed.
It's the same footage every time. These Tic Tac crafts that fly directly into the ocean. It's the same footage every time. There's a few different videos of it, but there's only a few. And it's always the same, and it's exactly what Bill Cooper described. Unity says, it's open knowledge that we know more about the moon than the deep ocean. Maybe that's what NASA wants you to believe. Yeah, I do think there's other life out there. I think we're basically in quarantine. I think basically the universe is set up in such a way that there's just no reason for it to come in contact. The creator of the universe knows that. I think it's almost implied that the human condition, the issue of sin, if you look at it biblically, is like a very human thing. Specifically human. Like, angels didn't have free will. Angels never sinned. They never fell. There was no chance for any of that. That's something humans experienced, and Jesus needed to be human for.
How do you explain the tribes of 10?
Go on.
And what they did?
Who?
The tribes of 10 of what they did, the Watchers, you know.
Who the hell are you talking about? Who the hell are these guys?
Dude, you don't know who I'm talking about? The angels that came down from heaven to the women and gave the Nephilim.
Oh.
Come on.
Yeah, honestly, I think Enoch is largely bullcrap at this point. I think all that stuff is like a psyop. Because I can see who believes it and who propagates it. And the answer is Wignats and the History Channel.
Oh my gosh, that's such a shit take, dude.
It's not. It's not. It's not. All of these. We're relying too hard on like internet bullshit and old creepypastas at this point. There were already entire like exegesis. How do you say this word? Entire studies like on the ideas in like Genesis 6. Here's the biggest thing. Genesis is older than the Book of Enoch. A lot older. So what the hell good is the Book of Enoch at that point?
Well, I mean, if you want to take that kind of thinking, you could apply that to everything that's not in the actual Bible.
I do it based on age and what influenced what. So the thing is, Enoch. Dude. You got to look at it rationally here. Enoch our only copies of Enoch are in like 1st century languages. At best. Maybe some Ethiopian language, but at best 1st century language. Right? So now we're taking this one verse out of Genesis, a much, much older book that's generally scholars say it goes back to the Babylonian Empire. And now we're saying that this book that seems to be far more recent, that extrapolates so much on this book that goes back that much further. When was the Babylonian Empire? What even century was that? I have no idea. It was way earlier. And now, don't you think maybe there was a reason that like so few churches even held on to it? that only at the end of the day, only some random church in Ethiopia canonized it. And that's not like a smoking gun either. But I'm looking at many things. I'm trying to look at all of the standpoints here.
Listen, man, I would just take the scripture as they are. Like, that's what I mean. I just keep.
So literally any scripture.
I mean, you have to. I mean, I'll just read them and like discern from it.
Well, I'll tell you this: the only like the first 30 verses of Enoch are actually verifiable to be ancient at all. Because after that, it's only written in what's the Ethiopian language? I totally forget, but it's only written in Ethiopian.
Yeah.
And so you'd agree that that's definitely a translation, right? That's not the original language.
I see. But I don't know, man. Like the would you say like the Ethiopians made it up? Like because
I don't think they made it up, no, because the Essenes were using it. There were first century people who were using it, but there's lots of things that people were using.
It's a reference in the New Testament as well.
Yes.
So this was a common knowledge amongst people in Jesus' day.
Many things were. Many things were. Many metaphors are used. There are Egyptian metaphors all throughout the Bible. So I was, for a long time, I was trying to figure this Enoch thing out. But at the end of the day, like, there are takes on Genesis 6 that existing long before it seems that Enoch was around, where they explain it much more mundane. That, like, when it says, what does it say? Like, these were the, what does it say? Where the words Nephilim, that's where it comes from. The men of renown is what it says. Like, they weren't literal giants. They were figurative giants. They were like celebrities. They were cults of personality. They were just these massive figures. It doesn't have to necessarily mean literal giant at all. It seems like that was a later thing to me, in all honesty. And once again, a lot of like where I end up on this sort of thing, I look at who's pushing it. Are the feds pushing this shit? Yes. Yes.
I don't know.
They are.
Because it's like they are the same people that are hiding the skeletons as well. The Nephilim, so-called giant skeletons.
Yeah, but I think this could all be.
Are they just tall ass motherfuckers?
Well, you can't substantiate the giant skeletons.
No, we just go by what was said. I mean, it said apparently Ecuador has it on display.
Yeah, there's probably some anomalies around. I don't know. I think all of those like newspaper clippings from the early 1900s, you won't be able to actually source those. You won't be able to even chase it. It ends there dead. I don't know what that. I don't know. Like I said, who do you think is on like Ancient Aliens deciding what is said, what isn't said? Like, it's the feds.
Fucking Ancient Aliens take is that like there is no God. It's just a bunch of aliens. We're just everything's aliens.
I don't know about that. I mean, a lot of the alien take is that the aliens always say there is a God and they're not the gods.
I've never heard that at all.
It's a very common one.
Aliens. I'm talking about Ancient Aliens, the show. Like,
I don't know. I've like never watched Ancient Aliens in my life.
Yeah, they're very secular.
Rupkanda says this whole country was built on an Indian burial ground, and we just on a dirt ball spontaneously floating in space. Man created language and religion. Religion just snake oil for weak souls.
Damn, he's edgy, bro.
Well, the thing is, I am not a partaker of organized religion. Hey, King Cobra JFS is tipped $1.88. I'm gay and my father Clint gives me boners. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate that. Now, I'm not into organized religion at all. I recoil at the very idea of organized religion. I try not to because I understand it. But here's the thing: is like everything in life is a cope. And anything that will give you the power to overcome your shit is probably for the best. I think religion does that more often than not, I would say. I think probably a lot more often than not. And here's the thing, is like people like to say religion causes fighting and stuff, but like I think they'll find excuses for the fighting. And if you look in history, religion's not all of the cause. Like there's lots of causes, and they will find causes.
Yeah.
So like I get it. I don't like organized religion either, but I think it is. That's the thing. It's all about, how do you say it? How do you say God? How do you say God and have people understand without all the baggage? How do you do it? I don't know.
You can't, dude. I feel like that's the thing. It's like somebody said earlier, suffering is divine. Like if I talked about suffering to a normal person outside, what would their reaction be?
I don't know, dude. Soft pee-pee.
Soft PV, dry vagina.
Yeah. Where was we? Talking about Robert Bigelow, how this dude definitely has an underground military base underneath Skinwalker Ranch. Absolutely convinced.
Where's the evidence, Yakov? Tell me, where is it?
So in December, a New York Times story revealed that Bigelow Aerospace had conducted a study on UFOs for the Pentagons. Now, it's admitted that he's doing weird UFO stuff with the Pentagon. I'd expect them to be flying directly into the goddamn ground. That's what it all adds up here.
So it's confirmed.
Well, you don't need to confirm that Bigelow Aerospace is in cahoots with the government. You don't need to confirm that Bigelow Aerospace is actually developing like transhuman type tech for the government. They're aerospace flying around, and they're buying this fucking land that I'm pretty sure has an underground base on it, and they're flying things directly into the land. I think is what's happening. It all makes sense to me. Also, Mormons. What's up with that?
Mormons into Pentagons sending UFOs out.
I don't think I have to read any more of this stupid article. Move on to the next stupid article. Why Mormons make great FBI recruits. A few years back, when the Pew Research Center surveyed Mormons in America about their place in society, more than 60% of the participants said that Americans are uninformed about Mormonism. Mormons make up about 2% of the American population, about the same as Jews, but they're not sure that the rest of the country quite understands or accepts them. Overwhelmingly, most Mormons described misperceptions about their religion or lack of acceptance in American society. But there's at least one place in American society where Mormons have found an unusual degree of acceptance: in agencies like the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the CIA, which see Mormons as particularly desirable recruits and have a reputation for hiring a disproportionate number of people who belong to the church. While this comes as a surprise to most people in Washington, and particularly among people who work with or report on intelligence and law enforcement, it's common knowledge, and occasionally it leaks into pop culture. In his 2009 memoir, Agent Bishop, Mike McPheeters describes his years doubling as an FBI agent and Mormon bishop, a community leadership position he inherited from another FBI agent. More recently, a controversial subplot on ABC's Quantico featured a Mormon recruit, blah, blah, blah. So, that's all very weird, I think.
They had to say Mormon recruit, like they had to emphasize on that.
No, whatever. It's just a reference to pop culture. Oh, I know that. I saw that. Whatever. But the thing about Mormonism is that it is very, very similar to Freemasonry.
Yes.
They use so much of the same symbolism.
I've heard it's the poor man's masonry.
Now that's what, well, I don't know about that. It seems more like the rich man's masonry to me. But, shit. So Bill Cooper would always talk about how being part of these societies, Freemasonry, he said he was part of the Jacques de Molay Society in his youth, and that's why he was accepted so readily into high clearance in the Navy. And that's what they look for. So Mormonism is not too far off. But then it's also like a straight up cult, essentially, when you get to like the weirder varieties of it, which is probably very useful for their MK Ultra fucking pedophile blackmail bullshit. Perfect. Can't help but think that's part of it. But stuff like this, it puts stuff like Bigelow's purchase of Skinwalker Ranch in a whole different light when he bought it from a group of Mormons. It wouldn't be, and these people are very insular people, god damn it, or at least they were for a long time. Like they know better than anyone what their bloodlines are, where these families go to, all of that stuff. And if they want to keep something secret, they'll keep it in the family. And I think it puts a whole new spin on this shit completely. So, as I read on, it's all about how they're clean living. They're known for clean living, and they like clean living in the FBI. Something tells me that's not why.
What do you mean clean living? Like,
They don't drink, they don't whore, they don't gamble.
I'm pretty sure Greasy would agree with me that Mormon chicks seem to be quite exciting, I guess.
Well, to me, there's like a definite connection between Freemasonry, Mormonism, Scientology, all of these weird things. There seems to be this like all parts of the same structure that are like based in deep state Satanism, essentially. And it's all of these American cults seem like offshoots of it. And they all have these weird ties to intelligence organizations every time. I think it's used for blackmail. And for sex magic, brother.
Yeah. Blackmailing. Isn't it, like, what's crazy is that, like we're like kind of like quote unquote a Christian nation, or like some people like to believe, and then we have like the leaders that just aren't like that, cheap and with clothing.
Yeah, I don't know. We're never that Christian as a nation. That's the secret.
I mean that everybody, it's like a make believe. Like we want to believe it. Is it true? It's like it's almost like we kind of like think like, oh, like everybody else is in the country except certain people, but like I don't even know where I'm going with that shit.
Rupkanda says, "Mother is the word for God in the lips of all children." That's right. That's right. That's why it's so easy for me to worship God as a motherly figure. It's something that comes very naturally to me. So let's talk about some real shit here, dude. Let's go to Mormon cosmology. Other worlds and extraterrestrial life. Mormon cosmology teaches that the Earth is not unique, but that it is one of many inhabited planets. Each planet created for the purpose of bringing about the immortality and eternal life of humanity. These worlds were, according to doctrine, created by Jehovah, the premortal Jesus. Premortal Jesus. It's a lot to bite into right there. Because Mormonism holds that Jesus created the universe, yet his Father, God the Father, once dwelt upon an earth as a mortal, it may be interpreted that Mormonism teaches the existence of a multiverse. Oh man, you got like the cinematic multiverse of Mormonism?
I thought that was like the basis of it. Is that like each that's why there's such a huge emphasis on family. Is that like that family is like you're God, and then you're supposed to, when you pass on, you become a God, and you have your own world.
Yeah, dude, if they didn't have to deal with the existing tenets of Christianity, that would be all well and good. But here they have Jesus creating the universe, then his dad walks around on earth after Jesus creates the universe.
Dude, I mean, why not?
Because it is limiting God.
What? No, it's like God chose to do that, right? Like he'd be chilling, right?
To me, God cannot.
He transforms into a
God,
bro. Like
but that is not the absolute. When I talk about God, I'm talking about the absolute nature of reality. It cannot be in a mortal body and be absolute at the same time.
But isn't that what like Krishna was?
No, I don't think so. If Krishna was in a mortal body, I don't think he was absolute and could have. I think the absolute could have inhabited him.
He had to hold it back. That's the thing that he said. He had to hold it back because man cannot handle that.
God,
It's
it
dangerous,
cannot
bro.
be the absolute form if there is any sense of duality at all.
Like true form.
The absolute is the complete lack of that duality, of that illusion of separation. To manifest as an individual, it requires some ego, some sense of duality. And there could be amounts of that, but it requires some.
I don't know, dude, because like the whole idea of God is he doesn't have these fallacies, these faults like we do.
The duality is the fault. God is only singular and can only ever be because to not be singular would to deny the infinity. Something that is dual cannot be infinite. I think this is essentially Mormonism being all fucked up theologically. That's what I think is happening here. Now, I'm not a Trinitarian. I love me some Jesus. I'm not a Trinitarian. I have issues with the Venn diagram showing the overlapping circles. I have no problem knowing that a limited man can manifest the absolute, that can show that, can exude that, but never is an individual that in his essence. Cannot be. Would no longer be individual. It's a distinction of like God the Father and God the Son. You could say it that way. I think God the Father is absolute, is completely unlimited outside time and space. Not limited from being in time and space, but all of time and space simultaneously.
No Holy Spirit.
I'm not a Trinitarian. I think this is all goofy.
So the Holy Spirit is not a thing?
I think it's a thing. It's just not the third person of a blessed Trinity or whatever. It's just it's the Spirit, dude. It's the Spirit of the divine. It's the Dharma. It's the whatever flows through you. And I don't know what to call it exactly. I have no problem calling it the Holy Spirit. But I don't think it's like the third person of God.
Where does that spirit originate from?
Same place all spirits originate from.
And that's God.
God.
So.
But I think this is specifically confusing. I think Trinitarianism is specifically confusing.
But
if that's the case, then I am God. Then it shouldn't be heretical for me to say I am God.
In a sense, like.
Yeah, in a heretical sense.
Sure.
But that's what I'm saying. Now all our language is just like put me in prison or beheaded me. You know? That's why I don't like all this. I don't like this crap. I think God can be seen in everything. And just like the Quran says, that everywhere you look, there is the face of God. Whichever direction you turn, there is his face. I think he's always there, and you have to see him when you look at other people. The thing is, I can see the Jesus in you. I can see the Christ in you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know what I like about you, and if you were the best you could be all the time, then you would be the realization of that Christ. That's what separates us from him. It's not his flesh and blood. It is his realization of everything a human could have possibly been and more. We got all sorts of stuff happening in chat. Avocado adorable. Bro, real shit is we have concept of multiverse thousands of years ago, if you read Bhagavad Gita carefully. I'm all for that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all for that. Don't get me wrong. And that's the thing, is like I have a lot more respect for these books that were written thousands of years ago as opposed to like a few hundred years ago. It's just the way it works. You wanted to see absolute energy? Watch Om Namah Shivaya episode 1. Upkanda says, mankind has to be the only creature that looks up and says, it's all built for me. There is but one God, and his name is death. And what do we say to God? Not today. It's true. That's a lot of people look at Shiva that way. I think there's a duality to everything is for me, and nothing matters at all, including especially me. I think there's like a double-sided coin to that. I think that's the key. Avocado asks, have you experienced God energy? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but I definitely did eat a bunch of psychedelics and smoke DMT, and my consciousness burst out of the top of my head into... And I had a jungle lady. The lady made of vines and leaves and forests. She loved me, and I loved her. And then she turned into a snake, and she was going to eat me. And then she kissed me instead. I don't know, man, but it was a really good time.
I think he. I would say like I know that you don't believe in this, Yakov, but like he's saying feeling God energy. That sounds a lot like the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, but it's not the third person of a blessed Trinity. It's not the third person of God.
Dude, what I'm saying is that once you feel that Holy Spirit flow through you, man, that is energy right there. You like.
But it's not a person. It's not a person. That's what the dogma says specifically.
The Spirit isn't a person, but
that's what the dogma says. I'm denying that it is a person in a Trinity. It's not that. It's something else entirely.
Dude, regardless of that, dude, I don't really care. It's the experience.
I know, but we're arguing about the Trinity right now. I think the Trinity has us confused as shit right now, as it has everyone confused every time the Trinity is brought up. Every single time.
I'm just talking about like the guy's question.
I believe in the Holy Spirit, dude. I don't believe in the Trinity.
And you felt it, dude. Screw the labels, dude. We're talking about like the Holy Spirit right now. It's like
I know,
yeah, dude. So like that is God energy, dude. And sometimes we don't even.
Well, I hear you.
Like psychedelics for this. Like we don't need any like I've had experiences like even in church. I'm like sober as hell. So.
God is just themselves experiencing everything all at the same time, Wupkanda says. And I think that's what God is the consciousness free of time and space, where all potentials already exist simultaneously, where all of this manifests from. I think that's what God is. Free of all limitations, all time and space, all one glorious moment. Jamie says, everything is for me, though. Once I see or feel something, it is mine. It is mine to experience. Yes, everything is for you. I agree. When you look up at the stars and like, it's like nobody else is out around. You might be 10 miles out into the woods. Nobody else is looking up in the sky at the same place you are, seeing the same arrangement of stars. And that shit is probably just there for you. I agree.
Did you read Avocado's comment?
You can produce pure DMT in your body, psychedelic, taking through mouth. It is short-term experience, but you can produce it in the body. It's eternal experience. You can do it through pineal gland. I believe he's talking about Kundalini yoga. And that's what I think I experienced, was a Kundalini awakening, is essentially what I got out of that. If that's what you're talking about. Ukanda says, raise hell, praise Dale. He took a right turn into heaven for our sins. Is that some Discordian stuff? Sounds Discordian to me.
Yeah.
Alright, multiverse. That's where we were. We were at a multiverse here.
The cinematic Mormon.
Mormon leaders and theologians have taught that these inhabitants are similar, and so the inhabitants of other planets may be in this multiverse, maybe not. So they are similar or identical to humans, and they too are subject to atonement of Jesus. The earth that God the Father dwelt on as a mortal was not, however, created by Jehovah or subject to his atonement, but existed previously.
That's confusing.
This is what I'm saying. God the Father has, first of all, Oh God, it's a headache. It's a headache trying to parse it. What meaning does God the Father even have here? God the Father means literally the Father of Jesus. That's what Father denotes there. When I say God the Father, that is not what that means. The Father denotes Father of all things, the place, the single point where all things emanate from. When I say God the Father, that's what I mean. And I think that's what most of Christianity means as well, whether they realize it or not. I think that's what differentiates God the Father from God the Son, is that God the Son was made manifest with all the limitations that come with that. But here, it's specifically like a genealogy thing, which once again, it's like another fixation that Mormons have, and it's seemingly another reason they're so embedded into these federal agencies, seemingly their connection. Look up stuff about like satanic ritual abuse. It's all based on bloodlines, and I think there's a connection here. So the doctrine of other worlds is found in Mormon scripture, in the endowment ceremony, and in the teachings of Joseph Smith. In addition, many LDS church leaders and theologians have elaborated on these principles through exegesis or speculation, and many of these ideas are widely accepted among Mormons. Official sources, according to a revelation dictated by Joseph Smith, Jesus is the creator of many worlds, so that by him and through him and of him the worlds are and were created, and the inhabitants thereof are begotten sons and daughters unto God. Smith's translation of the Bible also refers to many worlds and states that the vision Moses had on biblical Mount Sinai was limited to only account of this earth and the inhabitants thereof, but there are many worlds that have passed away by the word of my power, and there are many that now stand. Another part of Smith's translation portrays the biblical character Enoch as stating that if there were millions of earths like this earth, it would not be a beginning to the number of God's creations, and his curtains are stretched out still. Finally, the portion of the LDS Church's endowment ceremony depicting the creation of the worlds refers repeatedly to worlds heretofore created. Worlds heretofore created. In the portrayal of the Garden of Eden story during the endowment, after Lucifer has tempted Eve to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, God the Father asks Lucifer what he is doing, and Lucifer replies, "That which has been done on other worlds." So you have, straight up from the earliest days of Mormonism, you have these UFO connections already, it seems like.
Dang.
Yep. Let's go to this quote. Here we have a quote from Joseph of June 9th, 1884. What am I reading here? Oh, okay. So this is, what is this? Abraham H. Cannon writes of a conversation with Eliza R. Snow. And in the course of our conversation, she said, she heard the prophet Joseph once remark, when the 10 tribes were taken away, the earth was divided, so that they occupy a separate planet from this. This was news to me. I heard that Joseph the prophet say that he had seen John the Revelator and had a long conversation with him, whom told him that John was their leader, prophet, priest, and king, and said that he was preparing that people to return. It's all fucked up. People to return, and further said that there is a mighty host of us. And Joseph further said that men might hunt for them, but they could not find them, for they were upon a portion of this planet that had been broken off, and which was taken away. And the sea rushed in between Europe and America, and that when the peace returns, there would be a great shake. The sea would then move to the north where it belonged in the morning of creation. So previously, 10 tribes taken away, the earth was divided so that they occupy a separate planet from this. It sounds a lot like UFO cult stuff. It almost takes you back to Zechariah Sitchin's story, when you have these planetary collisions and these celestial bodies just straight up get split in half, and suddenly you have two things in the sky.
Yeah. But the crazy thing is, like, this book was written in 18 something, right?
I mean, this is not. Here's the thing. Like, this is from like conversations. I think Joseph Smith had a tendency to just rattle shit off.
Really? Damn, he must have had a really good ass fucking imagination, bro.
Dude, I think that was his trade. Essentially, I think he was basically like a charismatic pastor, but at the same time, he was like a snake oil salesman. I'd like to look into his prior his occupations before he became a prophet. I know I've been aware of these things. I don't remember what the hell they were, but like he's had stories before the Book of Mormon was ever a thing. Like he met a giant salamander that told him a bunch of crazy shit.
Told Joseph Smith this?
Yeah, a giant salamander appeared to him and just told him a bunch of whack. I don't remember what the hell it was, but that was like his first vision before anything else.
Didn't he have like a crow come to him?
What?
I thought that was like part of his story. Is that a crow came to him?
I don't remember the specifics of the Book of Mormon story, but I'm telling you that wasn't the first one. There were a bunch of other stupid ass stories that he told people that nobody believed. And he would literally go from town to town telling people new fucking stories. Is what it sounds like.
Oh my gosh.
So I think that was his bit. Was that he was like a charismatic preacher who was really good at riling people up and just saying shit off the top of his head. I mean, it's like, how else do you account for like him staring into a hat with some rocks in it to translate this like Book of Abraham in Reformed Egyptian?
We're about to get canceled by Big Mormon.
Maybe.
Yeah, they're over here spilling the beans back.
Yeah, it's like people have read what was called, I think it was the Book of Abraham, and it was said to be in Reformed Egyptian. People have read that since then, and we're like, no, this is just like a grocery list. I don't know. Everyone wants... People normally want us to go off into like the goofy tangents, but like I've had enough like goofy tangents about like why the dumbest thing in the world is true. And really there's so much to say that's like actually effective in helping people's lives and overcoming the actual problems we face. That's why I want to shit on things like Mormonism and the Book of Enoch and things like that at this point. The Book of Enoch never helped anybody. Tell me what you learned spiritually about the Book of Enoch. Nobody knows.
Dude, I could comment a lot about it. I've actually read that book many times. I'll be honest, like I have read that more than I've read the Bible.
I know. What did you get spiritually? What did you get out of it?
Dude, like the spiritual understanding of like the phenomenon that go on, it goes into the depth of the nature of demons, which coincides with the Catholic Church's demonology.
This sounds like it's totally useless in people's day-to-day lives completely.
Dude,
it sounds like just more reasons for them to spurg out and be afraid.
If you're into spiritual esoteric,
but this is not spirituality, though. This is something else. This is something else entirely.
No.
Spirituality is knowing your true self, which is God, which is the one. Like, that's all spirituality is to me. That's all God is to me. All this other stuff, and it's not to say this other stuff is fake. I literally think, like, at the end of the day, it's like parlor tricks. Because when you know the nature of reality, that you are inseparable from the whole, and everything emanates from you anyway, you are the master of everything. No outside force can ever hurt you again. Is how that works. But the thing is, when people don't understand that, and all they know is all this goofy demon crap, they're like creating issues. They're manifesting this shit suddenly.
I don't know about that, dude.
Well, that's why this stuff wasn't given to the masses. According to like the people who actually held on to it, because they weren't benefiting from it, and it was
actually very common in Jesus' day that this book was circulated. It was like common knowledge.
It wasn't. It was kept. It was found only with the Essenes, and the Essenes were very, very secretive and initiatory.
No, there's evidence to prove otherwise.
There's not. There is found in the Dead Sea Scrolls and in Ethiopian Orthodox Church. That is it.
Then how come like people had widespread knowledge of it?
They didn't. This was a newer book.
A newer book.
This apocalypticism was very much a product of the first century. That's where Jesus came from. That's like the whole all that stuff, and that's the thing about the Book of Enoch, it's very, very heavy on the Messiah, on a return of, on like the coming of a Messiah.
Okay.
So, and when Jude quotes from the Book of Enoch in the Bible, it is specifically about the coming Messiah. There's nothing about the fallen angels whatsoever quoted in the Bible. And the verse in Genesis, the entire Book of Enoch is extrapolated on, is just from a complete different time and place with a whole different understanding in that time and place. What I kind of think the Book of Enoch might be is like a passed down Babylonian mythology. Because it has so much in common with the Anunnaki story.
I mean, you could say that for the Bible as well. Like,
Which part?
Basically the Old Testament.
Mm-mm.
Until the point where the Israelites diverged from Babylonian, because like it's basically the same story.
I mean, there's elements, but it's not Babylonian religion. It's definitely not. It is a reaction against it, in fact.
Like the Babylonian texts all go back to the Sumerian texts, so they're a lot older. It doesn't even begin with the Babylonians.
But that has very little to do with the Old Testament as we know it, which was compiled during the captivity in Babylon as a reaction against the Babylonian religion.
To make their own religion?
No, to compile the oral history. The oral history that was much older than Babylon. Because that's the thing, once they were taken captive like that, they needed to codify all their traditions because they were afraid they were going to be lost and totally assimilated into Babylon. And that's why, supposedly, that's why it was all written down.
I see. But like that reaction has to be like, what are they trying to prove? Like setting the record straight? That's the only thing I could get from that.
Whoa.
Like, that's just like the Bible, the Hebrews.
They were literally afraid that they were going to be totally assimilated and never exist anymore, never to return to their homeland.
So like and then there's like the similarities of the story.
What?
Like
which parts?
Like I'm talking about like basically the Book of Enoch and
the Book of Enoch didn't exist at this point.
And the point from the beginning of time all the way up to the Noah's flood, because like the Sumerians had the same tale, Utrapesh.
Dude, the Book of Enoch is so different from all of these Sumerian accounts. It's got like similarities, but if this is like a game of telephone, it is so different. And then once again, like the Book of Enoch looks like a lot of words. Only like the first 30 verses are actually confirmed to be the Book of Enoch from the ancient history. The rest of it only exists in Ethiopian languages.
But you said it was a translation, though, of something.
Yeah. That doesn't mean I trust it. Doesn't mean I trust it at all. I don't know. That's the thing. The more I think about the Book of Enoch, I can't think of a single spiritual benefit to it. You don't read the Book of Enoch and learn how to defend yourself against demons. It literally will not work that way. It doesn't have the prescriptions to do that. But you know what you can do?
Like the nature of the spiritual nature of things.
Nah, that's not what it's about. I read it.
It touches on it.
Dude, but this is all silliness when the most effective thing you can read from the Bible is the Sermon on the Mount. And it's like a paragraph.
Okay. The Sermon on the Mount happened after the Book of Enoch, though.
Yeah, but it's got nothing. It's about how you are the inheritor of the entire universe. How it all is from you, it's all because of you, and you get every bit of it as a reward. And the Book of Enoch has none of that. It has none of that whatsoever.
It's not meant to do any of that.
I know. It has almost no spiritual value whatsoever, as far as what I can tell. I don't know. Seems like a circle jerk.
Think what you think, yeah.
But that's the thing. The only true spirituality is knowing that duality is an illusion. Everything emanates from you, and that's the only place you can go to find the truth.
That's nice and all, but like, what about like the history of things? Like that was like a.
The Book of Enoch is adding bullshit to history because it's claiming to be about the days of the flood when it was clearly written much, much later.
But like the Bible doesn't talk much of the days of the flood. It just gives like
Exactly. So why are we just bullshitting things? You can't just start making stuff up. You can't make it up. I don't like the idea of that at all.
Series. I guess you're like a continuity nerd of the main series. I like the spin-off series.
But you're not talking about spirituality at all. You're not talking about knowing God. And that's the only thing I'm worried about on this earth. Nothing else matters to me. And if people aren't talking about God, they're literally talking about nothing. Because they don't realize what they're talking about clearly, since God is the all. It is all just a circle jerk if we're not talking about God and how to get back to God, as far as I'm concerned. And there's many ways to say that. You don't even have to say God to do that. And there's so many words. The words are only limiting, really. And if you're in silence, sit in silence to know God. Sit in silence for 30 years to know God. That's what we should be doing. If we can only get that time. That's my issue with like organized religion, is all this added, there's all the dogma, and what amounts to parlor tricks. And that's Hinduism has it nailed. There are people who can manifest things in their hands, just manifest like an object in their hands. But that's never spirituality. That is a parlor trick. It is only for the stupidest people to get them to realize that there's something more.
That's true. That's funny because people think that's like a superpower. That's like a power. Oh, I could just manifest.
But it's
money.
the same thing with exorcising demons. It's this exact same thing as exorcising demons. Anybody can do it. Your will has to overpower the demon. It's that simple because it comes from you. Only you can manifest that into your reality. It doesn't mean they're fake. It means that's how you conjure them from within you. There are archetypes that exist in you. You can conjure them outside of you. They can fuck your shit up. You overpower them through sheer will. And that's why when you read into how people get rid of these things, it's like whatever they want. But if they believe in Jesus, then Jesus did it. If they believe in this other thing did it. And every time. But it's because they believed, they overcame it with their will. And anybody can do that. And to someone who's like, I'm an exorcist, I'm going to exorcise people, it's like they're just holding the secret back from them, that everything's going on within them. They're taking away people's power while they sit there and lord over people, just performing parlor tricks that anybody can do.
Damn, dude, they make it sound so easy.
It's the hardest thing in the world. But anybody can do it. That's the important part. That we were designed to do it. That is how we are co-creators with God. We create this reality. We write it as we go. We build our prison as we live. We conjure the demons as we go. It's all from within us. And we can change it at any time.
Dude, did you see what Avocado said? He said you should react to religious memes from India.
That sounds
I
awesome.
would like to watch that. I think I would watch that.
Mupkanda. Like honor amongst thieves, spirituality from being a judgmental liar. Yeah. We all gotta throw some stones around. Let's throw more stones at each other, dude, once in a while. Let your homies know they fucked up. Just meditate on it a bit. Unity said I had a ghost hunting moment that made me come back to Christ. That's cool. That's cool. And here's the thing, is like, I would never say, like, it's, you know, if people call out to Jesus and he fixes their problem, I'm all about that. And And I would never deny that. But what I would say is that same power that Christ had, he has given to you. If you could only accept it, only know it, receive it, we all have it within us. I have no idea how long we've been streaming. There's no fucking clock on Streamlabs. I'm using something different now.
I think we've been like 3 hours or so.
3 hours? All right, let's see where we're at. That doesn't sound right.
No, 2. Yeah, 2 hours. Damn, we're on the marathon, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's always 2 hours. But, yeah, I'm going to get it in. So let's quote from, I think this is the Book of Moses. The Book of Moses. Verse 33. And worlds without number have I created, and I also created them for mine own purposes. And by the Son I created them, which is mine only begotten. But only on account of this earth, and the inhabitants thereof give I unto you. For behold, there are many worlds that have passed away by the word of my power, and there are many that now stand, and innumerable are they unto man, but all things are numbered unto me, for they are mine, and I know them. And as one earth shall pass away, and the heavens thereof, even so shall another come, and there is no end to my works, neither to my words. For behold, this is my work and my glory, to bring to pass the immortality and eternal life of man. So yeah, just more quotes from Mormonism about aliens. Mormon missionary showed up in Nevada. I don't want to read this stuff, but I think you're getting my point here. How about this? Kolob. Kolob is a star or planet described in the Book of Abraham, a sacred text of the Latter-day Saints movement. Several Latter-day Saint denominations hold the Book of Abraham to have been translated from an Egyptian papyrus scroll by Joseph Smith, the founder of the movement. According to this is the scroll I was talking about specifically. According to this work, Kolob is the heavenly body nearest to the throne of God. While the Book of Abraham calls Kolob a star, it also calls planets stars, and therefore some Latter-day Saint commentators consider Kolob a planet. The body also appears in Latter-day Saint culture, including a reference to Kolob in LDS hymns. Voice is given out here. But yeah, so just in the core of the works, of the Mormon scriptures, it affirms life on other planets. So this like UFO deception that I think the government is pulling is just like baked right into the cake. Mormons involved, CIA involved, Satan involved. So here we have a prophecy from Joseph Smith Jr. Inhabitants of the moon are more of a uniform size than the inhabitants of Earth, being about 6 feet in height. They dress very much like the Quaker style and are quite general in style, or the one fashion of dress. They live to be very old, coming generally near 1,000 years. This is the description of them as given by Joseph the Seer, and he could see whatever he asked the Father in the name of Jesus to see. So now, it's clairvoyance, right? He's clairvoyant in the name of Jesus, and he's seeing these beings that live on the sun and the moon. From Brigham Young, who can tell us of the inhabitants of this planet that shines of an evening called the moon? When you inquire about the inhabitants of that sphere, you find that the most learned are as ignorant in regard to them as the ignorant of their fellows. So it is in regard to the inhabitants of the sun. Do you think it is inhabited? I rather think it is. Do you think there is any life there? No question of it. It was not made in vain. Life on the sun.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, basically, through and through, like there's just a weird connection here, and I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. This connection between Mormonism, the intelligence organization, Skinwalker Ranch, these aerospace companies that are subsidized by the federal government, the deep underground military bases, all of it, every bit of it. There's a connection here. You should look out. You should look out. I would say when disclosure is happening, when they're giving you information about UFOs, look out for naval officers, Freemasons, and Mormons. And if information is coming from these sources, it always is. It's always coming from these sources. Sometimes the CIA too. We know how we feel about those guys. So always liars. That's how you tell. I think we are at the point where the idea of aliens being interdimensional rather than extraterrestrial is going to be popularized by these same shady sources. So look out for that.
That was the take a long time ago.
Yep.
I remember that, and I even been quoted saying that as well. Because it's like there's there's no evidence that they come from space.
There's no evidence that they exist at all.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm heading more at this point. Once they start co-opting these ideas, because I got sick of this take a long time ago. It's not even that I like disagree with it actively. I see who the fuck is pushing this shit. Same thing as fucking Paulides. Same thing as all of this crap. The Giants, all of it. It's all the same people pushing this crap.
That was the same take that I heard at what do you call it, Skinwalker Ranch. Is that like there are like these areas where the air is thin and where the barriers between dimensions are thin, and that's why weird shit happens over at Skinwalker Ranch.
It's all from George Knapp's book. I can pretty much guarantee it. I would have to revisit it. I've only read like half of it, but portals were a big thing, and
so they're injecting Mormonism theology into.
No, I think Mormons are safe. They're safe. They're insular. You know their lineage. They're easy to blackmail because they're in some weird cult already. I think Mormons are just useful. I think Mormonism is very similar to Scientology.
They used to be very anti-government. So, like, some of these takes that you're coming seem very counterintuitive from the beginning.
Well, I don't think like the origins of because you're talking about a long time ago. I think this was probably a cult that was co-opted during the formation of like the CIA and that sort of thing. So there was a lot of time in between.
That's true. I really think like they've like worked their way into comfy places in the government. You know? I
think they were infiltrated by the intelligence organizations the whole time. Until they were basically totally co-opted. I think it's the same thing as the Nation of Islam. And it's probably the same thing as Scientology. They get co-opted and then they get used for sex trafficking.
Oh my god. The Nation of Islam is doing that?
Well, the Nation of Islam is pushing Scientology. And yes, their higher-ups have been caught in sex scandals. I don't know. I think Louis Farrakhan's always been sus. Elijah Muhammad was always sus. That's why Malcolm X left, because he was having affairs with so many women. So he was always compromised. I don't have any evidence of sex trafficking happening in there, but I do think it's just weird psyop shit to funnel people through. I think the Mormonism sex trafficking thing is so obvious. Like, there's like, who was that guy? The guy who was like on the FBI's most wanted list for polygamy because he had like 100 child brides. It's like normal in Mormonism. I want to say Jeff Foxworthy. That doesn't sound right though. You might be.
That's like I think it's like the more wives. That was the thing back then. The more wives you had means the more universes you were a god over.
It's pretty retarded. Glowing CIA Mormon, Sped says. Man, Avocado, I gotta get in touch with you. You're a very interesting fellow. I don't even know where to begin. Oh, chat's booling. Chat be booling out there, dude. Love you guys. Love all you guys. Well, I guess that's about the end of the stream. Do I have anything else I want to ramble about? Have I made my Mormon connection, my Mormon UFO Skinwalker Ranch I don't know, defense contractor, UFO connection. I feel like I have. I feel like I've clearly made it. I've made it clear there's a connection. Everybody knows it now. You can't deny it. If you deny it, you're a liar.
Yeah, you can't deny that they are comfy in the government, even though they've been saying they're anti-government.
These are the guys to look for, as it seems like something like UFO disclosure could become more possible. Look for Mormons. Look for Mormons. All right. With that, I think we can call it a night, bro. Hell yeah, dude. We had some good debates, good conjecture. We had some donations by the people we love so much in the chat. Thank you to Greasy. Thank you to Jugs. Thank you to Tim, to Chris Tran in particular. Chris Tran's out there donating the money. Thank you, Sped. I feel like I'm missing somebody. Nah, that's about right. Thank you so much to everybody. Let's check these comments before we get out of here, dude. They posting. Let me just read this avocado comment. Okay, next time get some sweet meat alcohol with you and tell Ghost, come whenever I call you. Do my work, and I will give you sweet meat alcohol once a month. Protect my family. That's how we do it. God bless each and every one of you. See you on the flip side. Hit them links. Hit that shit. Thank you so much. You mean the world to me. I and you.